Okay, right enough.
The back of it's already done. Oh, you want to take a picture of it? Is that what you want? This is the.
I just want to see who's coming up. It helps me know who's coming to the stage.
Oh, here's the list of all the names.
Yeah, no. I just want to know the order so I know.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. This was done at 9.
Oh, this is okay. So
1 o'clock. You'll have to.
Okay, so this is the other. Okay, so thank you.
But keep that. That's fine.
It just helps me know the names so I can locate where they are on the stage and then follow them.
Yep. Yep.
You've been yelling at people too much. It's the first question.
I was in Show's T-shirt with my wife.
Welcome, Yale School of the Environment class of 2021, and welcome friends and family joining us from all over the world virtually. You've supported these graduates during their time here at Yale, and they're grateful to be able to celebrate you, even if virtually. I hope you had a chance to enjoy our virtual ceremony earlier today. Before we begin, I would like to offer a land acknowledgments to express our respect and recognition of the land we're on today, recognizing the history of the indigenous peoples and nations who came before us and remain with us. Yale University acknowledges that indigenous peoples and nations, including Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Schaghticoke, Golden Hill, Pagosset, Niantic, and Quinnipiac, and all the other Algonquin-speaking peoples have stewarded generations of the lands and waterways of what is now the state of Connecticut. I say this so that we might honor and respect the enduring relationship that exists between these peoples and nations and the land on which our school is located. Congratulations, graduates. I am in awe of the fortitude and resilience that you have shown, and I'm honored to be with you today to commemorate this really important milestone. A special thank you to our flag bearer, Jenna Musco, and our student marshals, Deja Curtis, and Matt Valito, and Diego Angel Hakim. Although this year is quite different from a typical commencement, we're grateful to have the space to safely come together on campus to recognize each of you individually. I will be calling the names of each graduating student to cross the stage, where we as a class and a community can send them our well wishes and congratulations. We'll also recognize graduates who are not able to be with us here today. Once all the names have been called, I will lead you each through a pinning ceremony where you will officially become an alumnus or alumna of the school. We will also hear brief remarks from our surprise and special guest speaker, Christiana Figueres, who is an internationally recognized leader on global climate change. She was Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change from 2010 to 2016, and has been a vital voice in environmental leadership for the world and for our school through the years. I'll begin by calling our Masters of Environmental Management class of 2021 graduates. You may follow along using the program. Please be seated until an usher asks you to approach the stage. After your name is called, a photographer will take your picture off stage, and an usher will bring you back to your seat. So, congratulations to the Masters of Environmental Management class of 2021. I begin by calling, is my student ready? Ashia Ajani. Congratulations, Ashia. Taran Akiyama. Diego Angel Hakim. Bridget Barnes. Brian Basso. Shimel Bajur. Margot Buckaloo. Michaela Katina. Shiddish Chaudhry. Chudis Jen. Jamie Chia. Niraja Chopetti. Lily Coburn. Brett Casalina. Rebecca Dubé. Svetlana Gabrielian. George Gemelis. Joyita Ghosh. Bridget Gilmore. Rachel Gould. Liam Gunn. Yeah. Bijan Gurung. Adam Houston. Kara Hoving. Cameron Humphrey. Eugene Kim. Samuel Konstantinov. Ian Leahy. Deshen Jonathan Lee. Bipul Muyank. Tiffany Mayville. Sage Melser. Shoshana Maikon. Nomawetu Moyo. Jenna Musco. Vadili Njilema. Julia Nojime. Devin Osborne. Bill Pedersen. Christopher Perkins. Wilder Person. Katie Pofall. Hardik Pukril. Anna Raffold. Mia Rebeck. Celia Risto. Aaron Ruddian. Melissa Saleh. Claudia Sanchez de Lozada. Hamna Sharif. Krista Shenham. Jonathan Silverthorne. Natalie Simoes. Radhika Sundarasan. Urvi Talati. Malika Tulvar. Chris Tapnio. Viola Taubman. Brett Vicky Urelli. Shubra Werma. Abby Warner. Tiana Wilson Blindman. Ella Witz. Kristen Waithwall. Longyi Shun. And Clara Zimmerman. Congratulations, MEM graduates. I now call upon the Masters of Environmental Science class of 2021. I begin with Ite Bone. Damaris Chenoweth. Andrea Creel. Deja Curtis. Sally Donovan. Aaron Eck. Eamon Damani. Carrie Glenn. Luca Guadagno. Nora Hardy. Brooke Slam. Jayi Liu. Alicia Orloff. Rachel Ross. Ashley Stewart. Daewee Tan. Brendan Worth. Chinray Shaho. Congratulations to the MESC class of 2021. I now call upon the Masters of Forestry class of 2021. Rebecca Bland. And Matt Valido. Congratulations to the MF students. I now ask Professor and Senior Associate Dean of Research, Schmitz, to call upon our PhD graduates.
I'm honored to call to our stage the PhD graduating class of 2021. After I call your name, please remain on the stage. After all of our in-person doctoral graduates are called, I'll ask you to safely hood yourselves as a symbol of your accomplishments. So I begin by calling upon Kelly Sue Ahu, whose dissertation was titled Biogeochemical Controls on Greenhouse Gas Dynamics in Streams and Rivers, and whose advisor was Professor Pete Raymond. Kelly studied the exchange of greenhouse gases between rivers and the atmosphere. Her research took her to Tibet and Kenya, making measurements of CO2, methane, and nitrous oxide with international colleagues. She further extensively sampled the Connecticut River watershed, creating one of the most extensive data sets in the world from a single watershed, and used this to provide novel insights about river greenhouse gas fluxes for her dissertation. Kelly has a postdoc with the National Ecological Observatory Network. I now call upon Peter Barrell, whose dissertation was titled A Comparison of Strategies for Mitigation of Life Cycle Greenhouse Gases from Residential Buildings in the United States, and whose advisors were Professor Ken Gillingham and former YES Professor Edgar Hertwich. Peter's dissertation Peter's dissertation develops novel insights into home energy use in the United States. He shows how federal housing policies have unintentionally led to a more energy-intensive building stock, and how renovating existing building stock can reduce emissions much more effectively than increasing the speed at which new buildings replace existing buildings. Peter is well placed for an exciting research career and has accepted a postdoctoral position at the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research in Germany. Congratulations. I now call upon Henry Bernard Glick, whose dissertation was titled The Spatial and Temporal Dynamics of a Tropical Monodominant Tree Species, Gilbertodendron duervre, whose advisor was Tim Gregoire. Henry undertook a long-term analysis of forest dynamics using data from 900,000 tree stems in established sampling plots in Central Africa. He applied his talents as a spatial data analyst to characterize how landscape variation in disturbance, tree species ectomycorrhizal associations, and species stress tolerance traits determine the likelihood that forests will transition from mixed species composition to domination by Gilbertodendron, known commercially as limbali. I now call upon Amy Lee Johnson, whose dissertation was titled State Remaking Federalism, Environment, and the Aesthetics of Belonging in Nepal, whose advisors were Professor Michael Dove and Professor Sivrama Krishnan from anthropology. Amy carried out 3 years of ethnographic fieldwork on the federal restructuring of Nepal as a country and drawing on her knowledge of Nepali, Hindi, and Tamang languages to engage in members of different communities throughout the country. Her dissertation breaks new ground in the identity politics of settlement and what remaking a state can reveal about the nature of social and territorial belonging. Amy has accepted a 3-year postdoctoral position at Northumbria University in the UK. I now call upon Bartendu Pandey, whose dissertation was titled Urban Inequalities, Measuring, Forecasting, and Understanding Human Health Implications, and whose advisor was Professor Karen Sito. In his dissertation, Bartendu combined satellite remote sensing, census data, and machine learning data analysis methods to develop new measures of infrastructure inequality, to develop the means to forecast future inequality under different urbanization scenarios. The work opens a new scientific frontier to understanding inequality at scale. Bartendu now works as a scientist at the Princeton University Sustainable Urban Systems Lab. I now call upon Paul Wolfram, whose dissertation was titled Driving Emissions Down, Whole Supply Chain Mitigation of Greenhouse Gases from Passenger Vehicles, and whose advisor was Professor Ken Gillingham. Paul brought deep interdisciplinary technical thinking to bear on the key issues in transportation. His work demonstrated deep expertise in modeling ways in which policies could cost-effectively reduce emissions and improve the sustainability of our transportation system. Paul will join the Joint Global Climate Change Research Institute of Pacific Northwest National Laboratory in the University of Maryland as a postdoctoral scholar. And lastly, I call upon Jaemin Xuan, whose dissertation was titled Spatial and Temporal Variability of Trace Metal Concentrations and Speciation in Connecticut Surface Waters, and whose advisor was Professor Gabriel Benoit. Jaemin's thesis examined the biogeochemical behavior of cobalt, a crucial but poorly understood metal in 2 critical aquatic systems, lakes and estuaries. His work has led to important new understanding of topics ranging from micronutrient limitation to how sea level rise will impact coastal rivers. Jaemin is currently entertaining 2 faculty offers from Chinese universities. So congratulations to you all. Normally, in another year, your advisors would be asked now to hood you, but because we can't do that, I now ask each of you to lift your hood and hood yourselves in honor of your accomplishments. Congratulations to you all again.
Congratulations, doctoral students, and thank you, Professor Schmitz. I would now like to recognize master's students who are not able to join us in person today, but who are very likely participating remotely. Elliot Boyle, Jill Capitosto, Juan Ping Chua, Anthony Cisneros, Andrew Curry, Don Young Dong, Ryan Doherty, Megan Edwards, Jesse Gerke, Becca George, Tevin Hamilton, Yu Chen Han, Erica Helen, Julia Hoffman, Chelsea Huang, Rory Jacobson, John Johnson, Kristen Giovanelli, Yang Li, James Purini, Celine Wang, Liang Zhang, and Minjia Zhong. Congratulations, students. I will now ask Professor Schmitz to call upon our remotely graduating doctoral students of 2021.
I begin by calling on Erica Barth Naftalan, whose dissertation is titled Dissolved Methane in Groundwater Flow in Northeastern Pennsylvania and the Impact of Shale Gas Development, and whose advisor was James Sayers. Erica's dissertation evaluated the risks that fossil fuel extraction poses for drinking water quality. She sampled a network of groundwater sites as natural gas wells in Pennsylvania were drilled, fracked, and put into production. Her research has informed the often contentious political and public discourse over the role of fracking in drinking water contamination and is guiding precautionary approaches aimed at preventing it. I call upon Chen Chen, whose dissertation is titled Temporal Trends of Health Impacts from Air Pollution Today and Under a Changing Climate, and whose advisor was Professor Michelle Bell. Chen investigated how the impact of fine particulate matter air pollution on risk of hospital admissions is changing over time. These findings have implications for estimates of burden of disease from air pollution, as well as policies and regulations that aim to protect public health from poor air quality. She also linked the changes in health responses to air pollution over time to a changing climate to investigate the health consequences of climate change. Chen is currently a postdoc at the University of California, San Diego. I now call upon Wade Ian Davis, whose dissertation is entitled Essays in Environmental and Energy Economics, and whose advisor was Professor Ken Gillingham. Wade deployed multiple statistical methodologies to develop new data sets on electricity markets in Texas and new methodological approaches to understand the effect of climate change on GDP, and to using cutting-edge econometrics to inform future fuel economy standards. His work is notable for the policy relevant outcomes that he developed. He'll make great use of this expertise in his new position as an economist at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's National Center for Environmental Economics. I now call upon Michaela Olivia Foster Lepla, whose dissertation is entitled Forest Conservation Within Bounds, an analysis of the development and impacts of protected area policies in Uganda, and whose advisors were Professor Ben Kishore and then Chad Oliver. Michaela succeeded in resolving the practical issues of discerning which of multiple interacting factors determines deforestation across Ugandan landscapes using a combination of historical and contemporary qualitative and quantitative data. By comparing various degrees of deforestation in and around protected areas, she was able to determine that deforestation was largely the legacy of historical establishment policies and governance changes. She was thus able to determine path dependencies and how environmental policies shape different environmental outcomes across landscapes. I now call upon Chelsea Judy, whose dissertation is titled Identifying the Failed Parachute Effect, Land Rights, Food Security, and Economic Development in Ethiopia, and whose advisor was Professor Ben Kishore. Chelsea explored the unintended effects of well-intentioned international development on local communities and their food security through path-breaking empirical work. Her careful mixed methods analysis in Ethiopia shows that the contracts between local peoples and development agencies can work to undermine use of local crops that had long been provided food security. Judy's dissertation offers profound insights for the best practices aimed at building a sustainable future. Specifically, she finds that in some cases, an emphasis on nurturing long-standing ways in which communities have grown local crops is not only important for maintaining cultural traditions, it's also important for economic and food security as well. I now call upon Chunyan Yu, whose dissertation is titled Climate Decision Making Under Uncertainty and Future Learning, and whose advisor was Rob Mendelson. Chunyan tackled the difficult problem of how to make decisions today about greenhouse gas mitigation given the enormous long-run uncertainty surrounding the impacts of climate change. He explored how future welfare changes as a key uncertainty is linked to the sensitivity and the magnitude of future climate change, revealing that near-term mitigation choices may still not be compromised by future climate change. He further explored how society could develop improved mitigation strategies through a process of learning in which future uncertainty becomes better understood and constrained. Chunyan is now an assistant professor at the University of Seoul in South Korea. And lastly, I call upon Juan Zhuo, whose dissertation is titled 3 Essays on Environmental Economics, and whose advisor was Professor Matthew Kachin. Juan greatly contributed to understanding fundamental questions about environmental challenges and management in China. He documented the systematic relationship between pollution and the personal stakes political officials responsible for pollution control. He provided a novel evaluation of China's 2 control zone approach to managing harmful sulfur dioxide emissions, showing that it was more effective than previous research suggests. Finally, he showed how the physical location of industrial plants close to borders combined with prevailing wind patterns helps to explain difference in pollution emissions across China. Juan has taken a position as an assistant professor at Fudan University in China. Congratulations, doctoral class of 2021.
Congratulations again to all of the 2021 graduates. You're now officially alumni of the school. As so many of the alumni who've come through our school over the last 119 years have found, you might be graduating today, but you will never really leave YSC. You're a permanent part of our tight-knit community. To demonstrate your connection to the school, we now present you with a small physical reminder to symbolize your transition to the alumni community of YSC. So now, look inside your bag for an envelope marked, "Please save me until the end." We're at the end. Inside, you will find a pin. Take it out and rise, please. Remove the backing and affix the pin to your lapel, just above your heart. I see zippers going down. Turn and show this to your neighbor. Show your successful pinning to your neighbor. And now, congratulations and welcome. You're officially part of the YSC alumni community. We're proud of you. And we can't wait to see the ways that you will change the world and help to ensure a more sustainable future. I want to pause here to thank the staff who've worked so hard to make these 3 components of our graduation so successful. And I want to especially thank Melanie Quigley and Christina Violano, along with Matt Garrett, Ray McKeon, and all the many staff volunteers who helped make this virtual Old Campus and Victory Lap celebration possible. There was a lot of creativity and a lot of collaboration that went on to make this the special event that it is today. Before we process to Croon Hall, I'm excited to send you off with remarks from Christiana Figueres. Ms. Figueres was Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, including for the Paris Accord. She's a YSC alumna, parent, and a longtime friend of our school. Let's play it.
Dear class of 2021, you step out from these legendary academic halls at a moment that will be remembered by history as the great global pause. As we emerge from that pause, we will have to collectively decide whether we simply rewind, returning to the destructive habits and structures of the past, or whether we courageously reset, recasting our relationship with nature and with others. As you step out onto the world that is yet to be determined, may each one of you, in your own unique way, contribute to the great regeneration of spirit, society, and nature that is to be the basis of our common experience over the next few decades. Forward, my young friends, forward, always forward, with optimism and resolve.
This concludes our ceremony. If you're tuning in remotely, please join us as we process to Croon Hall for a final celebration. Graduates, you will be dismissed by ushers after the faculty process out, and you will process up to Croon Hall.